Frankie, let's just dive straight in, and like if you want to just like tell us about yourself. For anyone that doesn't know you, imagine that we were like at dinner, at a really cool dinner party, and like not the formal like website bio, but like the way that you would describe yourself and what you do to like without worrying about what, do you know what I mean? Like to someone who gets it, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I always just say I'm an astrologer and then just leave it. Let them react.
And what's the usual reaction?
I don't know, like, hey, oh right, yeah, like and I'm like, yeah, the weird one, horoscopes, and they're like, oh right, okay. Oh, how did you get into that then? Yeah. But yeah, I'm an astrologer, and I've also done a bit of numerology, palmistry, psychic development. You know, I've done lots of courses around it, and I'm studying herbal medicine, medical astrology. But my thing is astrology and just translating all of life into birth charts and back again.
Yeah. Well, and how did you get into like astrology and like what you do?
I was always into it. And then when I was having my Saturn return on the very day, I met a clairvoyant at a networking event, and she told me loads of stuff about my life and like blew my mind. And we went to get our coats together at the end, and I was like, oh, when's your birthday? And she told me her birthday, and I said, were you born at 8 p.m? And she's like, yes, how do you know? Like psychicking the psychic.
Yeah.
And she said, yeah, you're an astrologer. You've been an astrologer in all your past lives. It's your thing. Yeah. And I was like, oh. She's like, yeah, you're an astrologer. You were a man. You were like quite high up in your past life. You really, you know, you did this as your job. You know, you were really, you know, whatever. And you're going to write books. You're going to do it in this life, but you're not going to write books yet, like more towards the end of your 30s to 40s. So I always have that at the back of my mind now when like I should be writing a book, and like, well, Sunit said it's later.
Just relax a little bit. Well, and did you, when she, like, because I already know this, but for the people, I think this is really interesting and helpful for other people that are kind of maybe having their own kind of awakening or starting to connect with their life purpose on a deeper level, or whether they're moving through their Saturn return, and there can be so much resistance, can't there, to stepping into that. So for you, like when the psychic said to you like you're going to be an astrologer, like what was your response, and then how was the transition, like what were you doing for work at that point to kind of get into where you are now?
Yeah, so I was still doing pet insurance and a bit of property insurance. That's how I met her, because she was doing holistic interior design. I had quite a bit of resistance. I thought I was too normal to be an astrologer. I had no idea what an astrologer was, apart from Mystic Meg. Yeah. And, you know, there was no one, and Shelley Brunstrunkel, who wrote the horoscopes in the Sunday Times, until recently, I don't know. Anyway. And so I Googled a bit, and I tried to work out what to do, and in the end I did email Shelley at the Sunday Times and say, I've been told I'm going to be an astrologer, but I don't know how to do it. And she said, you need to speak to Frank at the London School of Astrology. So I emailed, told him my story. And I was still a bit like, oh, well, I'll just try the course and see if I like it. Obviously I loved it, and I was buzzing, and it was the best thing I'd ever done. But still, even though I'd been obsessed with astrology for years.
I was going to say, because that wasn't your first wake-up call. Like, you've been aware of astrology through your childhood. Like, one of your earliest memories is seeing, like, your birth. Like, was it like a poster with your name?
Yeah, a little thing with a little gift with my name, my weight, blah, blah.
Yeah, and then a Sagittarius.
Yeah, I'm like, what? What is this? I've seen this word before. Mum, what's this? Oh, nothing. I was like, definitely a thing. I'll be back to this.
Wow.
Like 4 years old. So yeah, it was a bit big into it, but a bit slow on the uptake.
I think sometimes it takes a while, and I think sometimes just because we've done something for lots of different past lives doesn't mean we're gonna it's gonna come straight off the bat. It takes us a little while to warm up, and we have to have our our lived experience in this lifetime to integrate what we need to know from this lifetime with all of our past things as well. Like was your mum into astrology then? Is that why it was on your little box?
No, so I think it was a lady called Helen Wakefield, one of my mum's mates who bought it, you know.
Really?
No, mum wasn't particularly into it. No.
Yeah.
Mum nor dad. No one.
And how would you say, like, what like, because you've got so many, I want to say, I don't know, it sounds really old school saying, so many strings to your bow. She has so many strings to your bow, because with your like palmistry and numerology and the medical astrology that you're doing and like herbalism and all of that, how would you describe your approach to astrology? Because you've got so many tools that you're bringing to the table, which like, I'm always like, what's happening? Like, what does this mean? What's going on?
I think astrology and numbers are my main big ones. I love the medical stuff. You're sitting on my medical astrology books, or her book. And
no, you're on top of like a tarot and astrology book and a tarot book.
Making good use of my books.
Yeah.
So the astrology and numbers is my go-to. And I think I'm quite numerical. I think I see things quite fast in the chart these days, because I'm always doing it.
Yeah.
And I can see the charts in my head. I've always been able to remember numbers and had a thing with numbers and patterns.
Be good at your times tables then?
I was amazing. I was the first one in the class to do them. I was 6 and I could do them even if they mixed it up. I got a star.
Wow. I was like back of the class for the times tables.
I loved it. I'd be like, Mum, do me a grid, time me. She's like, shut up, Mum and my aunt would be there with their wine. And I'd be like, time me. But, so yeah. I just love, I love numbers and patterns. And so I am very that way. And I was talking to someone about this the other day, because now with the apps and the software, you don't need to be good with numbers to be able to do astrology. Yeah. And there's this whole new realm of very visual, intuitive astrologers who like work with symbols and stuff. And even in the medical astrology classes, you know, there's a lot of healing and there's a lot of meditations and visualizations. And I'm always like, I don't get it. And they're like, where do you feel this in your body? And I'm like, I don't. What are you on about? Like, they come and put their hands on me and they're like, your solar plexus, you know, I can just feel it. I'm like, well, I can't. That's why I am very in my head.
And what I was going to say, so for you, because I think it's a similar thing with tarot. Everybody approaches it differently, don't they? They see things, and with psychic ability, everybody has different psychic senses that come more naturally to them, and others that aren't. They're not as developed. I don't want to say as good or strong or weak, but developed, yeah. And like, so for you, it's like, rather, for me, like, I don't know, like, I know compared to you, like the total basics of astrology, I would never say that I am an astrologer. Like, but like, I know,
you know enough.
Yeah, I know enough. Like, I know the, like, when it comes to the moon and things like that. And for me, when I start looking at bits, like, that's how I piece it. I think very similar to the way that I'd read a tarot card. I'd look at the symbolism and I'd see the like what each thing is and how they feel together. But for you, it's the more physical, isn't it? I guess it's the numbers and the angles and.
Yeah, but I have noticed particularly as well, since I've been making more videos, like when I watch myself think, I do look around and I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't know if I'm just seeing it in my head, but I do get ideas. And I would say that of my psychic abilities, you know, I know stuff.
Yeah, so and that is claircognizant.
Yeah, I just know it. And I've always been like that. And I was at school, I was like that. I'm just like, I just know. And they'd be like, why do you know? I'm like, I don't know, I just know. And so I don't see anything or feel anything, you know, there's no experience other than it's in my head and I know, but obviously you can be wrong.
But I think you're, like, as you were saying earlier, like, the more that you're doing readings, the quicker things are coming through to you. And it's like this chat, how I was talking to my friend about it the other day, like, our psychic abilities and when we're working intuitively is like a channel. The more that we use it, the more that the tap, if you see it like a tap, when you're first starting out, it's like drip, drip, drip. But the more you start using it, it comes through. And it's like a really good shower then, you know, when you're like, oh, I can stand under this shower for ages, because it just comes through really quickly and you're quicker to pull on those messages, aren't you?
Yeah.
But I think they change. Like, do you feel like yours, because I know, like, do you remember that time, like I think that's when we first met at She's Lost Control, and I did that reading for you, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm hearing.
You were hearing.
Yeah.
And I was like, what are you hearing?
Yeah. And I was like, I don't even know. And I hadn't even till that point realized I've always been more clairvoyant and clairvoyant where I'm seeing things, and clairsentient where I'm feeling things. I didn't even realize at that point that I was hearing, you know, when you're just saying it, it's like, yeah, I can hear this, but I hadn't connected until you'd said, like, how are you hearing this? That I was also, I'd all of a sudden developed this clairaudient.
Yeah, clairaudient.
Thing out of it. So, and what is, like, when people come to you for a reading, like, what are, like, the things that they come to see you for? Is it like, is there a specific thing or different?
No, you know, career, love. There's a fair few, you know, will I marry him? Will there be a baby? Questions. But generally, a lot of people just come for an audit. Like, I had somebody yesterday, and I'm like, you know, what we're doing? She's like, oh, I just, you know, my friend had a reading, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to do it. So there's quite a lot of that these days, which is nice.
Yeah.
As well. It must be the same for you.
Yeah, I think mine, a lot of it is work, relationships. I wouldn't say to someone, like, for me, it doesn't come through future prediction. Like, I will predict things because energetically, that if X plus Y will equal Z, like, if you put energy into that thing, then it's likely to happen. But I would, like, for me, it doesn't come through as in, you know, something like, you're gonna have this many children, you're gonna marry someone with this letter.
I don't do that.
Like, I would never go there in that way. But if something comes through, like, say if I'm like, oh, I feel like you're gonna have a big chat, like, and with what the cards are saying, you're gonna have a big change, like, I can see doing something different, I would feel into that, but wouldn't be specific because it just doesn't come through to me. And I think sometimes I might get it wrong, and I don't want that person to be like, well, that psychic said that, and they've not felt it into their gut. Like, for you, like, with the prediction that you got from the psychic, astrology had always been there. It wasn't like a wild card of like, oh, well, she said I'm going to do this. Like, it was always there for you. But I think sometimes, like, when we're intuiting things, it is all it's down to the what's the word, it's subjective, isn't it? Like, it's the person's perspective. So one thing might mean one thing to someone, but it might be slightly off, and it could be something else. But yeah, career stuff, relationships. But I also think that everything is that with the tarot, I work with kind of like the energetics of where they're at and what's blocking them and what's holding them back. But I always see, like, how someone is in one aspect of their life, like, say work is the same as career, so there will be a similar kind of relationships and career. So whether they are there's a connection. So it's like, we're talking about this, but this can also apply. We just change that, and it's like, what you do, that's what's holding you back in this aspect as well. Like, it's not different for each thing because we're the common denominator. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And also good of you to clarify that as well, because I've been getting, you asked me why people come.
Yeah.
But I didn't also then say back, look, this isn't what I do.
No.
You know? And so you let people come, but like 90% of people now are coming for everything that you've just described. But it just can happen now and again that people are looking for things beyond, they're looking for clarification that it's, you know.
And I think it just helps. I know, like, whenever, like, we had a really good chat the other week, and I was like, oh yeah, like, it just helps you see, understanding astrology, like, even like especially through lockdown, following you, not that, like, obviously I've been following you for ages, but your predictions and how that was playing out, and like with Boris going into hospital, it was like this soap opera of the stars, like, not not saying that Boris is stars, but like the stars up in the sky. And it was just so fascinating, like, to see how it all comes through, and how it really does influence us. And I think for people that are skeptical, it's like, how can you deny that this planet is about this planet is this, when they come together, this is what it is, and this is what's going on down here. Like, as above, so below. Like, that's what's going on.
And this year has been particularly amazing for that, in so much as the astrology has been hardcore. It was predicted it was going to be hardcore. It was easy to make predictions because it was hardcore, and it has been hardcore on the dates of the conjunctions and whatever. And so from, you know, in a weird astrologist sort of perspective, it's been, and it's still going to be like that, you know. And I am very much, you know, as we're recording, where are we? July is beautiful, and the sun is shining and we're all outside, but there's some more stuff coming this year.
But I think astrology, for me, astrology helps to be prepared. If you know what's coming, it's not to like bury your head under the stand. It's if you know something's coming up, you might not know exactly what, but energetically, it's like the weather forecast, isn't it? You wouldn't leave the house without an umbrella if you knew it's going to rain. Like the way that you share astrology, it helps me think, okay, well, I can prepare in this way, or navigate it so that I'm as ready as I can be. Not that we'll ever be fully ready, not that we ever fully know exactly what it is, but so we can ride the waves rather than get swallowed, even though there will be times that we probably are feeling like we are being swallowed by it all. But it just helps us go with the flow. So what like what one of like your, I always like ask this question with everyone. Well, I'm saying everyone, like you're my second person I've interviewed, but I'm going to be asking like everyone this question. But like, what is your moon sign? Because in Lunar, like I talk about moon signs, because when I learned about moon signs, it was like this huge lightning bulb moment for self-awareness for myself. And I'd already been learning about astrology for a few years. So I already knew that we're not just our sun sign, but it was kind of really diving into like moon signs and how it related to myself and my like sensitivities, and also my relationship. Like that was the big thing. That was at the time I was like, whoa, like moon sign is really helpful to understand my relationship and my partner, because we were going through a really rocky patch at the time. It's like understanding that actually how I see our moon signs is like it's like love language, isn't it? It's sort of like the basic kind of way of looking into it. But I've just rambled, but like, what is your moon sign and how do you relate to it?
Taurus moon. Moon. Oh yeah. Wow. Well, how do I relate to my moon? My astrology is really conflicted in that my sun and my moon are opposing so extremely, not as in a nice sweet opposition of, it's like a kind of we are two very different people. And so my moon sign just loves nature, loves being comfortable and being alone, and just being connected to something bigger and feeling into life. It also, because it's opposing Saturn, it loves working. So there's a lot of that. And my moon I find so interesting because I was born, I think, just a few days after an eclipse. And my eclipse is exactly the same as my mum's dad. So my granddad and I have got this eclipse thing, and because my moon is in the 12th house, there is something very like, there's a lot of old karmic energy hanging out there. So, and it was I think it took me a long time to know I had that part of me, because, well, it was just a delay. I would say not until my Saturn return did I know I had the moon in Taurus. I just had this weird personality default that made me really rubbish Sagittarius and hate traveling and like hate change and get really homesick all the time. But being able to understand my moon, the needs of my moon and the wants of my sun have been it gives me a language and a way to understand and articulate life.
What I was going to say, it's just gone out of my head now. I've gone blank. Why do you think that the moon and astrology is so big at the moment?
Neptune in Pisces is the easy answer.
Right.
So Neptune is at home in Pisces, and spirituality has boomed.
And when did that go? When did that move in?
2012-ish.
Right. Okay, so that's like when we were having. Was that when we were having our Saturn returns then? No, we.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saturn moved into Scorpio on October the 4th, 2012.
Right.
And that was like, hello. I can't remember what degree your Saturn's at. But yeah.
Yeah.
The whole of Saturn in Scorpio is that experience. Neptune in Pisces, I need to look it up. I know he was in Aquarius 2006, mid-Aquarius 2000, maybe 2010. Yeah. That's
kind of moving through. What I'm like, how I'm like jumping around, like I've got my like questions like back to front. How do you work with like the phases of the moon? Does that come into it when you're does the moon come into a reading a lot for you? Yeah.
So the moon is just so fundamental to who someone is. And their moon phase, particularly, I think I always look at it. It's one of the things that I do when I'm building in what I'm doing for somebody's chart. I go around the houses and I look at everything, and the configuration of their moon phase tells you a lot about someone.
Yeah.
Because, if you're born whatever moon phase you're at, it's your personality. I'm born, just 2 days before a full moon, and I've got that pushy, need to get things done vibe all the time. And I love that moon phase. It's my favorite moon phase.
I'm like, what? I think I'm waning.
Aquarius, Pisces, Aries. Yeah, you are psychic.
When you say, when you're like, I was born just before a full moon, I just like love the energy. I'm like, I want to like that.
No, it's mad. It's too much. It's
completely
insane. Yeah, I think I love it. I love it, but also it's mad. I'm also kind of relieved, after the full moon, when it's like,
yeah, you feel it,
and everything slows down, because there's 2 days before I'm just, I can't do enough. I can't. There's just not enough time. There's not enough hours in the day. I'm just on fire.
It'd be interesting, like for people, like have you got a birth chart on your website that people can look up that do their birth chart?
Yes, it works most of the time.
So they can look at that, and it's like I've done it before quickly. You can just like Google your birth date and like moon phase.
You can Google your moon phase,
to like find that out, to kind of give you some clues. But how do you, like in your personal life, how do you work with the moon phases?
I don't work as much when it's a new moon, because I can't. Last week I was a zombie. Obviously the sun was opposing Saturn last week, so everybody was a bit tired. But my brain is it's definitely a week for reading, for sorting things out, for planning, and I will do the bulk of my work, the bulk of my events, in the next 2 weeks. When the moon is waxing, you're working waxing moon.
I think I love the waxing moon phase. I love that.
I'm still a bit tired. I'm still a bit new moony right now. Where are we? When was the new moon?
Yesterday, Sunday.
Yeah,
Monday?
very recently.
No, not yesterday, Monday. I've lost track of what, I don't even know what day it is. But Sunday.
Did you do anything?
I was away in Newquay, so I kind of didn't, but I just kind of just had a little moment to be like, I wish I lived here by the sea. New moon intention done.
Would you move to the sea?
I'd love to. That's like my dream. Like I'd love to live by the sea. Like the whole time we were away, I kept saying to like Fang, who's like my boyfriend, like, should we move here? Like, he's like, we can't just sell the house. He's like, yeah, we can. Because he's a tourist moon, like same as you. So he's like, doesn't want change. He's like quite plotted where we are. Doesn't want.
How does that? Because your moons are square, aren't they?
I don't know. What's each other?
Well, they're both fixed.
Yeah, I'm Aquarius moon, by the way. Anyone wants to look that up.
But you're both fixed. You're both stubborn.
Yeah.
Am I like Fan?
Yeah.
Are you like pulling out the same toolkit to deal with me?
No, you're a lot easier. Lot easier. No, he's cool. He's chill. He's laid back. But he's like, it's his Aquariusness that I struggle with more.
Really?
That sounds harsh to say.
No, but you've got the Aquarius moon, so that's really interesting.
I know.
That's the projection. Classic.
Yeah, total. I know it is, but how do you stop?
I don't know. Look at us doing this as a job. We still don't know how to stop.
Yeah, I know, but it's living it. It's like, we know it's one thing knowing it in theory, and it's so much easier when you're applying that for someone else in their relationship, because you've got a different perspective. It's like when I read the tarot for myself, I really have to, if I pull a card for someone else, it's like I can just say it all out, like what's going on for them. But if I'm doing it for myself, it's like
sound effect.
Yeah. What is that? Like, when I'm reading myself, I'm either like, oh yeah, and then just like don't. So I really have to take the time to journal to really get into the good stuff for myself. Like, I really have to dig deep and take that time. And that's why I always, whenever I'm doing like teaching people tarot, it's like, journal, like write it down, like read, like don't just read it out of a book, like really look at the symbolism. What is the card saying to you? How's it making you feel? Really working with your intuition and digging deep, rather than just taking that surface level answer of like, oh yeah, that applies to that, carry on. But so yeah, that definitely helps. And I think I need to, saying that, maybe I need to do a tarot reading around like projecting.
No, but I just think that's how you know projection is a thing. Yeah. Because you live it. Like, I've read all the astrology textbooks, and I've read my chart, and I've looked at the past and my present relationships, and still you're like, okay, but it's just amazing that you've experienced it personally, that you know that projection is real, and that you can take a step back and and then tell other people, like, with confidence.
Yeah.
When I see it in their chart, maybe if I'm doing a relationship reading, you might be projecting here, and this is how that would manifest. Yeah.
Well, I think that's how you teach, isn't it? From the experience. It's not like, and I think that can be the tricky thing for a lot of people, because they read, I know that I did this starting out, like, you read it all and you think you know it. And then the initiation is actually walking the talk and moving through it and applying what you know to the situation, and doing things differently to how you are programmed to.
And getting new perspectives on all of it.
Yeah. Well, so I want to really, like, because I did your Eclipse workshop the other day, and I found it super fascinating. And you're going to be teaching it again is it November you're going to teach
November, the 30th.
So, because like it was really interesting, because I always say to people, one of the things that I love about working with the phases of the moon, especially new moons and full moons, is that you are writing down your intention. So you can also use that for reflection, see how far you've come, see what's manifest, see how things have changed, because we can be so hard on ourselves, can't we? And be like, oh, I'm doing everything and getting nowhere fast. But actually, when you rewind and see, and like, you're great because you've got like your diaries from like way back.
That is full of diaries. 20 years.
I'm like, why did I only start journaling like 2 years ago? Like, I wish like I had them. It must be such a
laugh is what it is.
Yeah, but to go back and just see where you're at. But when you're learning astrology, but I think self-reflection and seeing that journey is so powerful.
It's amazing. It's like, so amazing. And as well, because as you get older, you get personally less open, and you really, really open with, even more open with myself, I find, in my really, really old diaries. And the things you feel, and you're just like, God, I haven't changed.
Yes, I'm still moaning about this or whatever. But what I was gonna say, so like, I always recommend to people, like, keep a journal, or at least a moon journal, so you're writing these things down, and these if you're doing a ritual or a ceremony or a meditation, like, writing down the downloads that you're getting, even if they don't make sense, because it's such an empowering way to reinforce your intuition and start trusting it, because you can go back and, oh my God, that came through when I was doing this meditation, or this keeps coming through again and again and again, like a stalker card, like you were saying with the 8 of Pentacles earlier. I think before we started the interview, like, we start saying, oh, hang on, this sign keeps coming up for me, like, why aren't I doing anything about it? like I'm moaning that I'm not happy where I am, why aren't I doing anything about it? And this sign keeps coming up, and the sign is like, do this. And we have resistance for like whatever reason. But yeah, I always think keeping a journal or something to kind of keep track of those things. But something that you were talking about in the workshop was about like predicting, using the moon for prediction, and like how, like, from my experience, like not every time, like this isn't like 100% like proven, but most of the time a lot of time, you know, when I'm doing my new moon intentions, it often takes 6 months for it to come to fruition. So oftentimes, like when it's the full, say if I set an intention in new moon in Aries, by the full moon in Aries, I will have seen something come through with that. So I see that using the new moon to the full moon, and the full moon to reflect on the new moon. But in the workshop, you were talking about the 9-month cycle and like the gestational, like is it like the lunar gestational period, like
lunar gestation cycle? Yeah.
Would you be able to like explain a little bit of that, because I think that would be super fascinating for other people to know, and like also you're doing the workshop again, so that like I really encourage people to start journaling now. Get ready.
You got to go way back. I'm going to do this event so many times, and just before I forget, there's something that always happens to me as well, because some things do happen slowly. But like I made my intentions on Sunday night, and then yesterday I have like, I'm hammered because sometimes things come through so fast. Like in a day. And I was reading my phone yesterday and things were coming through. I was like, what? You know? So yes, it takes 6 months or 9 months, but sometimes I always forget that actually the day after a new moon is like, bang, you asked for it, deal with it now. But yeah, the lunar gestation phase is Dietrich Pessin's work, I believe. And I hadn't spoken about it much before because I thought it was like her work, her project, and I just left it. But I think a few astrologers are working with it now, but either way,
but as long as you're crediting,
I know, I'm just super, I don't know why I'm so funny about that. Must be and so if there's a new moon at a certain point in the sky, now if you don't know about astrology, then basically the zodiac wheel is a 360-degree circle broken up into 12 segments of the sky, and it starts at 0 degrees Aries, 1 degree Aries, 2 degrees Aries, 3 degrees Aries, all the way to 29 degrees Aries, 0 Taurus, all the way around. And so there's different degrees. So if the new moon is at 5 degrees of Capricorn, then 9 months later there will be a first quarter moon. Can you do a better one?
Anyone that is listening to the podcast and not watching the video, Frankie is demonstrating with her hands.
Badly. First quarter moon at about 3, 4, 5, 6 degrees of Capricorn. And then another 9 months later, so 18 months after the first new moon, there will be a full moon at 4, 5, 6 degrees of Capricorn. And then 9 months later, again, there'll be the final quarter. And that is mad. And if you want to go back and look at very significant things that happened in your life, and particularly like the event I did involved 2 eclipses. So the new moon was an eclipse and the full moon was an eclipse. And there's an eclipse on the 30th of November, which is why I'm doing it again. And so eclipses obviously are even more powerful lunations. But if you look back in your life, if something very important happened at the full moon, and then again, if 9 months later, some kind of critical shift happened, then at the full moon, you can be pretty sure when it comes to predicting that you're going to see something manifest as part of that story. And then again with the final quarter.
So could people use that to plan their lives, like to get on the super highway something of like, right, I want to make this happen, like I really want to get aligned with the moon and the universe. I know that this new moon is going to be like, would you say eclipse are more, would you say, like, we all know, people might not be aware of it, but eclipses are like intense. Like I know whenever I lead a moon ceremony, like everyone, it's like the volume is like cranked up, everybody is like feeling so much, and there's a lot of shifts and a lot of kind of curveballs and twists and turns and things coming through. But how would you, like, because we have like solar eclipses and like lunar eclipses, like what is your perspective on like the eclipses and how we can work with them?
Well, I was particularly obsessed with that eclipse because it was on a planet in my birth chart as well. And I think that is extra. So if the new moon is on your sun or on your Venus or on your Mercury, then you're definitely, it's going to get you more. So, but with eclipses, it's so significant. Again, eclipses are amazing for predicting. And I don't do loads of predictive work, but when I am looking at someone's chart and I can see there's an eclipse on their sun or MC, I will know definitively that something will shift at that time. And because eclipses repeat, you can look back. So my favorite question this summer has been, what happened in 2001? What were you doing in 2001? Where were you going? And, you know, was it your parents split up? Did you go to uni? Did you have your first heartbreak? Whatever it was, did you buy a house? Did you sell a house? Did you get married? These things are sort of repeating now because the eclipses are repeating this year. And it's just, it's amazing because people can really see it and it manifests. It happens. By the way, you know, by manifest, I mean something happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, what was I doing in 2001? I can just about remember what I was doing last week.
GCSEs.
Oh, right.
Leaving school.
I wasn't really doing my GCSEs because I hated school, and I just started hairdressing.
Because we've got particularly for us, as in you and me, because we're both born the same year. We're repeating Saros cycles this year, I think.
What does that mean?
So eclipses repeat every 18, 19 years. I have to check. But these eclipses look very, there's something. Just ignore that bit.
That was a hard year, that for me, like 2001, thinking of like those eclipses and school. That was like,
No, so the Saros cycle will be repeating when we're 38, actually. But I went to a talk at the astrology conference and someone was talking about Saros cycle 137, and I'm sure that's I'm to astrology. Just I'm boring people.
No, people. I'm sure people be like, how do you spell that? Like, people go down a rabbit hole. It's so good, and that's the thing. I think that's one of the best ways to start learning about astrology. Is like start googling the terms,
yes,
and the mythology and what that means, and how that affects, and looking at your birth chart and how that reflects.
Yeah, once you can get past the terms, so that's what I'm going to be doing in my next course. Is like,
when does that start?
10th of August. Is just translate, give, because all I needed, I could have done it from books, but there's certain things I just couldn't understand without being taught them. So if you can just say, look, this is what a square is, because people are DMing like, you astrologers talking about squares. A square isn't, once you know what a square is, you'd be saying square all day long. It's just having it explained. Do you know what I mean? And there's just certain bits of terminology that if you can't understand it, you're like, right, I'm stuck.
Well, I think that's the thing. The terminology can be a bit of a roadblock, can't it, for some people? And then
it was for me.
I
used to read loads of books and just not get it.
And you can even read like a normal book and like not. I remember years ago, like I was like reading like a crystal book, and it was just like it was a really thick crystal book, loads of words, but you know when you get to the end of the description, it's like, what does that even mean? Like, what does that even, it's like, this book is big, there's loads of words, but how does that apply to me? How can I work with that? Like what is that? I think it's so easy to overcomplicate things, isn't it? Whereas
people love overcomplicating. They really, and I don't really get it, why people won't just take it down. And I think it's when you're so fluent in something and you understand it so much, I don't know why, but I used to find it when I was doing the website, when I was doing pet insurance before, the IT consultants, it's very hard sometimes to get them talk to me. Like, I don't understand what you're on about. I don't know what's an API. Just translate it so we can have a conversation. Yeah. But everybody stays up where they are, I suppose. I don't know why.
I think sometimes it's like it's a bit like trying to prove their intelligence, and you're trying to be thinking that using all the words and all the jargon makes you sound legit.
Yeah.
Actually, I know when I was like learning copywriting, because that's something that for me, like building my business, I wanted to learn how to communicate what I was doing on a level, you know, so that people got it. And it sounded like me when I was talking about it, rather than like what I thought I should be saying. Like I really had this moment where I was like, I really want to sound like me. How do I say it? And was learning about copywriting. And one of the things in that I learned is like a confused mind says no.
Yeah.
So it switches off. So that's, for me, it's like really breaking it down. It's like if I'm reading that, would like someone else that doesn't know anything about what I do understand that? And that's the thing, because it just you make it too exclusive otherwise. If you try and kind of thing. And I think I've seen a few companies like, oh yeah, we've like their thing is that they're breaking down the language so that you understand it. There's no jargon, there's no thing. It's like, this is what breaking it down super simple. And when with your, I'm just gonna look at the date because I'll try and get your
what?
No. With your course, when like what's it all about? When does it start?
All right, okay, yeah, all that. So it's learn to read your birth chart in a week, and I had the idea ages ago, and I was going to do it as a retreat. Hypothetically, I was going to go to Rome and get a yoga teacher friend to come and do it, and we'd get up, chill, do some yoga, have a coffee, do a lesson, have the afternoon, you know, maybe do another little session later on. And it was just to get people to have the concept. Now, obviously, I'm not doing that. Maybe, I don't know, let's see what happens. But so it's online, and it's just set five classes, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Monday again, because I was telling my flatmate, and she was like, Friday? And I was like, yeah, I wasn't sure either. She's like, nah, don't do Friday. So that gives people a little bit more integration time, a bit of reading time. And so it's just the building blocks. What are the signs? What are the glyphs? What are the signs of the zodiac? And then what are the planets in their myth? What are the houses of the birth chart?
Wow.
And what are the aspects? And that's the 4 events. And then I'm going to do putting it all together. I am actually going to do that 3 times. So I'm going to do it on the Monday. And then twice more, you know, for people who can't make it.
I'm like, because I'm like trying to work out the dates when this is gonna go live. I'm like, also I'm gonna try and see if I can sign up for that as well.
When are you going live?
I finally found a jingle. We're talking about it earlier. So hard to like just find a little track for music. I was like, do I just leave it? But I wanted to have something, so I've just found that. And I completely fried my brain the other week learning about how to do podcasts and all of that. So I just needed a little bit of time away. I've had a time away. Feel like my brain is refreshed. So I'm going to send I've kind of got it all set up. I just need to send the first like trailer episode so that I can get approved on iTunes. And then however long once that comes through, then I can start putting them out in the next hopefully in the next week or so.
Oh, right. Cool.
So like luckily I think now Mercury is direct. It makes it a bit easier as well. Also I want to get it out before Mars. Get everything kind of exactly, before Mars goes retrograde. Are you going to do a workshop on that?
I should do. But I'm going to do a big course September, October, November.
Okay.
And I want to get that out. There's so many courses in my head, it's ridiculous. And I'm finding it strange because I'm back now, because I'm back in London. When I was at my parents', I had space and it's just kind of here. I feel where I don't like doing stuff in my room, you know. We're mystics in our bedroom right now. I like doing stuff in my sister's room.
But so because I think for anyone that doesn't know, like you do lots of different workshops, don't you, like online?
Yeah, so, I have been, particularly in lockdown.
Yeah, because
it's just easier for me to get work out if there's deadlines.
Yeah, I'm so much better with a deadline.
Lots of little deadlines.
Yeah,
so nice.
Yeah, I would have never written a book or 2 books if I didn't have deadlines.
Yeah, very important. But a big project like a book, I mean, that's hardcore, mate.
Yeah, it is. It was. I definitely think Lunar was that. I thought that Lunar would be easier because I'd already written a book. But it wasn't
difficult second book.
Yeah, I think I remember like a voice note like to you to be like, I just don't know why I'm doing this anymore. And you're like, you're just tired. You just need a break, like step away.
But it's just so miserable. Sitting and writing and then being tired and then doing it again.
Yeah, and just having a deadline, so knowing that you can't just
sack it off.
Yeah, you can't just sack it off. Like you've signed a contract. Like you've taken a bit of your advance. Like you're committed. Like you've got to keep going. And it started like, I don't know, I always start off like, oh, it's such a good idea, but I don't know if that's probably like the Aries part of me. Like I get so passionate about something, I'm super excited, and I do burn out quite quickly, but also I get bored and I'm like, I want to go and work on this now. I've got this other project, I've got this idea. So that's even in this podcast, I'm like, right, can't drag this out. Like I've got to do it while the energy's there.
Yeah, that's really good. It's really good that I've got to, like, can you see my blue text? my podcast plan has been up here because I was going to film them all because there's a studio here.
Yeah.
And I had it all booked in, but then lockdown. And now, as we've discussed,
make it happen. I'll be your accountability buddy. I'll be a guest.
All right, cool.
So I'm gonna ask you, we're gonna wrap up, but if you could go to another phase in your life, if you go back in time,
nice question,
what would it be? Well, when would it be? And what would you tell yourself?
Oh my God. I would go to 2003.
Or you didn't have to tell yourself anything. You could just go back and just enjoy that.
I'd go to 2003 for sure, because it was my personal year 22.
Right.
So in numerology, you have your personal years. And I knew 2003 was epic whilst I was living it.
How old are you?
18.
Right.
Yeah. And it was the year I went to uni, and like the last summer leaving school, it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And the quality of my friendships and relationships was through the roof. And I was just laughing all the time. It was, it was just really, really amazing. It was so, I did know it was amazing at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't kind of have any regrets with that, but it's just amazing.
What, like, even though I'm like, I'm feeling like nostalgic. Maybe I'm like,
And living in Rome was cool. There's definitely distinct years, and that's another reason. I've always known that. I've always been like, I didn't like 1999. I love 2000. I love 2003. I love 2008. I love 2012. I love 2013. I did not like 2014. And that I've always been very kind of, and being able to look at the astrology of what was going on and the numbers. And 2020 is quite nice, actually. I have to say.
What number year is it for you this year?
3.
Okay.
3 is a magic number.
Yeah.
So 3 is 3 is fun.
Really creative as well, isn't it?
Yeah, creative, making, writing and talking. Yeah, just fun. The personal year 11 last year was not.
I can't remember what my year. I need to check.
You are, if you're always 4 years ahead of me.
Why am I always 4 years ahead of you?
Wait, because you're an 8.
Oh, okay. And
I'm basically a 4. But you've had your birthday this year and I haven't, so now my brain can't do it.
Okay, yeah. I'll work it out.
It 1. No, 5 had 4. 9. Your birthday's March, huh?
Yeah, 28th.
03, 4 add 4. 8.
8. So yeah, and I'm a life partner.
You're in your year.
I'm in your year.
Boom.
But yeah, if like I love that numerology workshop, that numbers workshop, and it's so good. It's because I was doing it, and then I was like working out my boyfriend, and I was working out my friends. Like, it's so easy to do, and just to start to understand these things, and also for anyone that wants to learn tarot, the numerology is it's really interesting to see, because the numerology is in tarot. Those numbers mean something. Like, it isn't just like, to break it down, that it's those numbers. There's so much symbolism in tarot. But doing a workshop was great, because it's just listening to someone's different perspective. I think we can so easily be like, oh yeah, I know that, but it's so powerful to listen to someone else teach something, because that we can always take something else away from that. But yeah, definitely, I'm like, I would do that workshop again. Are you doing it again?
Yeah, I need to. Well, I've got it filmed, the one I did with Pip. But yeah, it's a really nice one to do, because it's so simple. Astrology, astrology, I always feel like I've got to keep everyone concentrated, like whereas the numerology is just like, it's so basic.
Yeah.
It's like, you know that it's landing. Whereas with astrology, I'm just like, look, I'm giving you information, trust it, keep listening. Yeah. It's different process.
I feel with astrology, it's like a different language though, and it's seeing how it plays out. Whereas, and again, it's like one word, like square, that then confuse minds, like
yeah.
Whereas everybody knows numbers, and the things that apply to it, so it's easier the block's not there in the same way, is it?
Yeah, exactly. So
where can people find you, and how can they work with you? So how could they book in for a reading or come to one of your workshops?
So my website is francescaoddie.com, but it's being revamped.
Whoa.
Although I think Instagram's the easiest. Francesca Oddie Astrology, because then like you can just press book.
Yeah.
And then your link tree.
Your link tree with all of your like links, and just if anyone isn't already following you, I'm like, where have you been? Like, if you haven't, because they would have seen me like mentioning you. But like the posts that you share all the time are just so insightful as well, and really helpful. So yeah, people get on that if you aren't already. Thank you so much. This has been so much fun.
Thanks, darling. Mystics in our beds. I was changing my sheets. I was going to have you on my ironing board, but it's just been better.
Yeah, it's just more relaxed, I think. Mystics in their bedroom.